to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, yes.
That's the one from,
Yes.
I saw that you guys needed. Roll call, please.
Mr. DeCarlo?
Here.
Mr. Hopkins? Oops, sorry. Mr. Connick?
Here.
Mr. Molina?
Here.
Mr. Silverston?
Here.
Mr. Walter?
Here.
Approval of meeting minutes for February 24th, 2015.
So moved.
Second. Roll call on approval of minutes.
Mr. Connick?
Yes.
Mr. Molina?
Yes.
Mr. Silverston?
Stay.
Mr. Walter?
Yes.
Mr. DeCarlo?
Yes. Any amendments to the agenda? No amendments. We'll go into reports. Mayor?
Really not much going on. Well, hopefully the weather continues to break and we have enough salt, I would think.
Yep.
Yeah, we got enough salt. So, hopefully we won't need any more. Right? We just hope it does a nice gradual, slow melt so that we don't end up with flooding next. Knock on wood. That's all I have, really.
Thanks.
Sure, I'll interject something somewhere along the line.
Yes, you will. Law Director, Mr. Carpenter.
Thank you, Mario. I did send a letter as directed by council to Mr. Averill from the Crossings. I carbon copied their legal counsel too with regard to the engineering study. I've discussed it with a couple of you, but I have not heard anything back from them yet. I don't know that they are going to answer, but they had requested in their letter to council to consider their letter a request for a variance. And in case someone asks you, I advised them that there was no such request within the statute or within our codified ordinance, so that we weren't going to consider it any further.
Yep. Thanks, Mr. Carpenter. Engineering, Terry?
Okay, first item I have is the resolution 2015 for Nautilus Trail West. We're currently looking to apply for the OPWC grant for Nautilus Trail West. Prior to making the application, we need to have certain elements of the project design that goes into the scoring for the grant. So that is all in the legislation. So designing, doing the survey and all that is included in there. Liberty Ledges Phase 4, one of the issues that came up at the Planning Commission meeting was the need for emergency access on the south end of the new phase of Liberty Ledges, because they will not have direct access from Liberty Road. Gene, myself, Mayor Prokop, and the city engineer, Amy Moore, over in Quinsburg, we met this morning. They agreed to give us access to the road that leads back to the gas well back there. And they said that when the time comes, they'll grant us an easement to use that as an emergency access that will be needed, and emergency services will have keys to the gate.
Well, I spoke with Chief Plunkett today about that, and the easiest and most economical way to do the gating with the chain. They carry bolt cutters on all their vehicles, so they would just pull up, cut a link out of the chain, and they'll be able to get in. That's the easiest way, rather than having keys that you have to find and make sure they're in all the vehicles. Because both trucks and the squad carry bolt cutters.
Okay. The next item is the engineering report. I'll come back to that because it's going to be a little bit longer. California Street, we had until tomorrow to resubmit for the small government program. We did send in the application on Monday, so that is taken care of. If anybody received any complaints about a large bulk guy sitting out on California Street that was out of traffic last week, so. Pond Brook tributary restoration. That is, the design work for that's being pushed to the fourth quarter of this year. After talking about the trails over in the Liberty Ledges area, we wanted to wait until we saw what we were doing with the trails before we designed anything for the restoration there. Construction status, regatta, we're still set to begin at the end of this month. Resident notifications will go out 2 weeks prior to the start. And Phase 7 of Harrington, they are submitting the Mylars for us to sign so that they can be recorded, so they can begin pulling permits. And that's the 21 lots that are right there on Dogwood. Senior housing, they are currently having some issues with Ohio Edison. They are moving the meter banks from inside the building to outside the building. And they submitted a plan. Russ Rodick took a look at that for us since Bob's out of town right now. And Russ said that it meets code. So he said that they could go ahead and submit that to Ohio Edison for approval.
Can we jump back to Windjammer?
Yep.
Real quick? At the Aurora Shores homeowners meeting last night, I gave them information to put in the shoreline, which is our quarterly newsletter, just letting the residents know on Windjammer Trail and Cove that this work is being done, and that if they want to get the road replaced, you know, please contact you at the village to get the okey-dokey so we can get the signatures we need. I mean, we're 2.5, 3 weeks out, and we need to know, so it just needs to be done pretty quick, I think, for us to replace that roadway back there.
As far as building and zoning, the only thing significant that I have is that Harrington Phase 8, they are going to be submitting the final plan for that for approval. They contacted me yesterday, so I look for, in the next 2 weeks, receiving their plans for review.
Okay, before you go on, Chief Buck, those signs that you used in Harrington on Phase 5 and 6 stating the ordinance regulation for noise, do you still have those signs? Do we want to get more to post up there, or we'll just enforce?
Yeah, those.
Okay.
And then I have the annual report for the engineering department. I just had a couple of things that I was going to cover in that. Okay, to begin with, the annual budget for the engineering department was $96,000, and that covered the general services, Eugene Esser as the village engineer, myself as your community rep, and then the administrative staff over at the Crockesser offices, as well as some of the other engineers and inspectors. The general services, obviously that covers the review of plans, attendance at these meetings, at planning commission meetings, and assisting with funding for projects, being a technical advisor for engineering issues. We're also here to advise property owners with any problems pertaining to engineering. We represent the village in any issues related to the National Flood Insurance Program, and we prepare the annual report to the Ohio EPA. We are also reviewing and preparing applications for various funding sources, OPWC, stuff that we've been talking about. As far as planning and grants in 2014, we applied for the Nautilus Trail Phase 2, or we're doing the planning for the funding for Nautilus Trail Phase 2. The roadway and storm sewer improvements on California Street. We applied for the Pond Brook grant, which again, that'll be designed later this year. We prepared the NPDES Phase 2 Small MS4 annual report that goes into the stormwater management and the EPA permits. Design projects for 2014, obviously Windjammer and Regatta on that list since we're getting ready to start those. The private road acceptance for the crossings, the California Street reconstruction, and the rec center. And for the rec center, the budget that we were working with was $24,000, and we did come in $5,000 below budget on that project. The construction projects, Nautilus Trail, the total cost for the project ended up at $1.7 million. The project was completed on September 5th, and we have a maintenance bond that expires in 2016. So we will be monitoring that project and making sure that any issues are taken care of before that maintenance bond expires. The OPWC funding on that project was $644,000, and Cleveland Water contributed over $600,000 on that one as well. The projects that were still under maintenance bond during 2014 were the Maryland project and Pirates Trail project. Both of those have a maintenance bond that expired this summer. So we will be going out and doing a final punch list on both of those items to make sure that if there's any issues, we get those taken care of. Subdivisions, Harrington Phase 4 and 5, they wrapped up construction in both of those phases. Phases 7 and 8 are under review right now and about to break ground on Phase 7 with 21 new sublots there and 101 new sublots in Phase 8. Kendall Lane Apartments, that's 94 units, and we did the site plan review for that as well. Land purchase for future projects, the engineering department is going to be helping to create a plan for the retention pond for the property there on Nautilus, and if the village would like, we will also assist with anything that the village wants to do there on Georgia with the property that was purchased there. Site plan reviews, we issued permits for 67 new houses in the year 2014. The engineering department did the site plan reviews and the footer inspections for those houses, as well as final grade inspections on 63 other homes.
Do you know how many new home permits were issued in 13? Do you remember?
13, it was 50,
Okay.
58.
51.
Resident concerns, I have a list of the properties that we addressed issues with drainage or grading issues. I did think that it was interesting that we had 42 properties on the previous year's report and only 18 on this past year's, and there were only 5 houses that were on both lists. So I don't know, because I wasn't involved the previous year, but obviously we've helped it solve some issues.
Is there a concentration in a certain area where the issues are happening?
Well, this past year, a lot of it was on Nautilus, but towards the end of the year, those issues were resolved through the construction project. I did leave off any houses that were specifically due to the project, because we had the dandy bags and the storm drains and stuff like that. So I didn't include those on here since it was directly related to the construction. And finally, we worked on an agreement with the city of Aurora to make sure that we could move forward with the California project. And we attended a conference with AMETS to discuss the economic development of the county. I in the report. Everything is on box for you guys to review. I know Stacy did not want me to read the entire 9 pages, so I tried to keep it brief.
You did well. Is that it?
Yes.
I have one thing, 10403 Red Bud, that's right after you turn on to Red Bud. It's probably, I think it's in front of the second house, the pavement is cracked and heaved right there all the way across the roadway. I don't know if Gene's aware of that, but if you could make him aware of it, because there's an issue going on, and that's pretty much a brand new road.
Great, okay, I will.
Thank you, Keith.
Well, thank you.
Rec Center, Mayor, do you have anything?
Just what we got going on
Okay.
right now, they're reading.
Term sheets up for second reading tonight, it will go to 3 readings. Deborah's not here. Tom, do you have anything?
I do not have anything
Okay.
on her behalf.
On ordinance 13, it's an emergency ordinance to make the appropriation adjustments for the 2015 village budget, and that's relating to the jet officer. That does not have to go by emergency. And also on it, it lists the difference from the old to the new at $37.75, and unless I'm doing my subtraction wrong, it is $32.35. So that'll need to be changed before we do pass it.
Changed, Barry, what was it changed to? What does it need to be? 32.
Yeah. Thank you, Stacy. Chief Buck?
No report.
Chief Plunkett?
I recently attended the pre-construction meeting for that water line project, and Trimore submitted to me their safety plan, and it met all the criteria that I had requested from them. They had one small change they had yet to make, but it was very minor. Otherwise, I'm satisfied with what they presented.
And you have the plan in place if a gas line is hit, and they know what will happen?
Yes.
Okay.
Just had one.
Well, that was unrelated.
And we did have 3 weeks ago, we had a water line break on Regatta. Last week, we had one go on Windjammer. So, I mean, the timing couldn't be any better with the water line.
And that's the one that's been giving us grief, but they were out there.
They fixed it.
Yeah. Everyone has your monthly report, the call log. I talked to Assistant Fire Chief Chad Johns today, and he's gonna start putting that on box, as long as you have no objection to that.
I don't, but he talked to me about that today, and I personally cannot figure out how to do that. So unless I get some IT help, it's not
How to
happening.
load it on the box, you mean?
Yeah, I can't get it, I can get the Word documents for my computer on there, but the database
Stacy will.
spreadsheet, I can't get that on, so I did mention that, you gotta come over and help me, or it's not gonna happen.
So you don't know everything.
I don't, imagine that.
Big admission there, folks. Big admission.
It's unpaid, it's being recorded. Thank you, Chief. Architectural Board of Review.
No report, our next meeting is Monday, March 23rd.
Thank you, Mark. Planning and zoning?
We approved the phase 5 and 4 of Liberty Ledges, which includes what Terry was talking, or Terry, he left, huh?
Yeah.
Oh. They was talking about the emergency road, that's what we need to get the approval from Twinsburg from, so that's already done, so it'll be all set and ready to go. It's 105 units that will be in the area where the sign is on Liberty Road, just to give you a general idea. And again, it's Ryan Homes, working with Metro Parks now to add in some walking trails so that you can be able to get over to the new park, outdoor nature center from Glenwood all the way over. And a couple other areas if we see fit.
Thank you, Mayor. Board of Zoning Appeals. A report. Finance?
Finance met today at 6:30. We recommended payments in the amount of $263,753.81. Next meeting will be March 24th at 6:30.
Thank you, Tom. Cable?
We had our annual meeting earlier this month, and we approved the 2015-2016 budget. You don't go on the calendar year. This is the second year in a row we were able to come in with a reduced budget, and so we're very pleased about that. And revenues are off a little bit, and we did comparison with other cable companies versus satellite companies, and just about all the cable companies are losing revenue. People are switching over to satellite. And that's just an observation, it's not a statement of quality. I have satellite, I switched over.
Yeah, but it's price.
Well,
The satellite companies are beating them out in price, and they have to realize that.
I did a little bit of checking up on that too, and the satellite companies have realized they have the goose that laid the golden egg, and so they're gradually increasing price, just like the cable companies did. And for too much longer, it'll be the worst of both worlds.
Yeah,
So
thanks.
that's all I have. Thank you.
You're welcome. Communications.
Communications Committee met on the second, Monday the second. We discussed a few things that I talked to Ms. Ham about. One is we hope to have kind of a bi-yearly, kind of a pulse survey, put it on our website to get some feedback from the residents about what their concerns are and things like that. And we're also looking at potentially doing a quarterly kind of interview with Sam to let the community know what's going on, what we're working on. So those are two of the big things that we're working on currently. Our next meeting is Monday, April 6th at 7 up here at the Village Hall.
Thank you, Mark. Long-term community development, no report. Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec, we have our first event of the year coming up pretty soon, the Easter egg hunt. The Saturday before Easter, that's, I believe, the 4th at 1 o'clock. And I say we have it coming up, but in reality, Chief Buck and Mark Wilson do pretty much all the work on that, and I'll say thank you ahead of time. Our next meeting is at March 18th, Wednesday, at 10 o'clock. That's it.
Thank you. Records.
No report.
Seniors.
Seniors had lunch today at Cracker Barrel. Well, 12? Not bad. And our next breakfast is at Nicky and Smitty's, Wednesday the 25th at 10.
Thank you again. And Jed.
Jed met last Tuesday here at the Village Hall. We discussed the need for the increase for the JED officer, which is what Ordinance 13/2015 is all about. It was increased like $17,000, I'm thinking off the top of my head, which $3,200 of it is the village's portion of that. We also had two people from Kent State come in and give, for lack of a better word, a presentation of them trying to get us to continue increasing our scholarship and to possibly increase the amount that we donate every year. So this is basically in prep for 2016 budget, so there'll be more discussions concerning that, I'm sure. And our next meeting will be first Tuesday of June, 7 o'clock at the Township Hall. That's it.
Thank you, Tom. The legislation, Ordinance 10/2015, an ordinance amending Section 191.02 of the codified ordinances of Reminderville, Ohio, to add the definition of pension for purposes of taxation, third reading. Ordinance 13/2015, an emergency ordinance to make appropriation adjustments for the 2015 village budget, first reading. Resolution 11/2015, a resolution authorizing a $2,000 donation to the Taste of Twinsburg event, third reading. Resolution 12/2015, a resolution authorizing a $100 donation to the Twinsburg After Prom Committee, third reading. Resolution 13/2015, a resolution authorizing a $100 donation to the Aurora After Prom Committee, third reading. Resolution 18/2015, a resolution to award the 2015 annual HVAC preventative maintenance contract to DeMarco and Associates LLC and declaring an emergency, second reading. I'd like to have a little discussion on that before we move on. We're at second reading. Sam originally wanted it to go by emergency, but I think we need to make sure we want to continue with DeMarco. When we went out to bid last year and they won the bid, they were lowest on the maintenance contract. What we're finding, their pricing on additional work, trying to solve the problems here in Village Hall, they're on the very high end. I just want some feedback from council on how you want Sam to proceed. We can go out for additional bids and find out, we seem to know what needs to be done above the ceiling line in here. It wasn't solved by DeMarco last year. There's a lot of issues that we're still having. We had roof leaks here in the back. Fire department had numerous leaks. And it's because of the ice buildup, because of the heat escaping. And we just need to get this fixed. Now, in addition to that, Sam is also going out and getting pricing on getting the heated gutter cables for the front and back. And in addition to that, I think it's $1,700 for each side of the building for the cables, but then we're gonna need electric run on both sides of the building to plug those into because they go on sensors. And while they're doing that, we might as well have to make sure we have electric put in to light the Christmas lights on the front of the building so we don't have extension cords dropping down all over the place. But we need to decide if we want to go out and get additional bids. And if that's what we want to do as a whole, then I'll direct Sam to do that as the mayor will.
And refresh my memory, when we bid it out last year, did we ask for, hey, what's your maintenance cost and or what is the price point of your additional labor that isn't?
That, I don't know if we did that.
I mean, that's obviously what the problem was, right? Their entry point was low.
Was good, and then their hourly rate was high.
Okay.
Yeah, we spent, including the maintenance agreement last year in all departments, $15,305 with DeMarco.
Yeah.
I don't have it broken down by Village Hall
I
Fire.
think we
Police.
should get that information.
Yeah, get a new bid and have them add,
Okay.
yeah.
Then Paul, on this resolution, what do we do with it?
What we'll do is
Just
we'll
let it
create.
die at third reading?
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
create a new, if you decide to go with someone else, we'll create a new resolution.
Okay.
We'll let this, we'll vote it down.
Okay.
My question though is, I think the DeMarco contract ended in February. Are they still on some kind of month-to-month or something like that?
That I don't know. That's why he wanted,
So we need to move on.
because he waited till the very end to tell us we had to renew the contract, and I wasn't happy about that.
And I did see that, I thought I saw that it ended at the end of February. So we need to move on fairly quick.
Okay, I will have him take care of it. First, Sam and I will have him take care of that on
Quick enough
Thursday.
that we have something for the next meeting. So it's not prepare some legislation.
Okay.
You mean Sam's committee?
Yeah.
The mayor and I will make sure that
Okay.
the information gets to Sam's committee.
We have to start the Sam's,
I know.
Big Sam and Skinny Sam.
Which one's which?
Yeah, I was gonna say, all right.
Cut me deep there, man.
Yeah, we do mayors. That won't confuse people. All right, resolution 19/2015, a resolution to approve the preliminary term sheet for the Village of Reminderville Recreation Center project, second reading. Resolution 20/2015, a resolution authorizing and directing Processor Engineering, Inc., the village engineer, on behalf of the Village of Reminderville, to file a grant application with the Ohio Public Works Commission to be used for the completion of Phase 2 of the Nautilus Trail West Reconstruction Project and declaring an emergency first reading. Resolution 21/2015, a resolution to accept the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission to approve the preliminary subdivision plat for Liberty Ledges subdivision Phase 4 first reading. A resolution Resolution 22, 2015, a resolution to accept the recommendations of the Planning and Zoning Commission to approve the preliminary subdivision plat for the Liberty Ledges subdivision Phase 5, first reading. Any old business?
I'd like to bring up, and it seems like it's gonna maybe be an issue, the new trash contract, or bid, or whatever that we're gonna be receiving for 2016. If we are requiring everybody to take these, I don't know if they're 96-gallon trash bins or whatever they are, that is gonna be a major problem for the people of Spinnaker Run. There is absolutely no room to keep even a 15-gallon container, either in the garages or for the people that don't have garages. So I don't know if there would be a way that we could say everybody's gonna get trash containers except for people in Spinnaker Run who have, there's no
What are
place
you
to put
using
them.
now?
Just bags or whatever. I mean, the garages barely have.
Dumpsters?
No.
Don't need dumpsters?
Well, I agree with you, Tom. The other thing is this, is that with the quality of plowing that we have had this winter, we would become the village of garbage. Because there's nowhere and no way to keep those trash cans up.
I mean, I don't know if there's any other, I know Spinnaker's pretty unique the way they were built. And, I mean, the garages, you can barely get out of your car when you park in a.
Commodore Cove East and West don't even have garages.
Right, well, and 30% of Spinnaker doesn't have garages either. And so, we need to consider that if we're gonna, when we vote for this somehow.
I mean, everyone seemed to, and I know we talked about this, cause the footprint is about the same of any garbage can, right?
Mm-hmm.
We all kind of, so I know a lot of people that have garages have that same concern, so I don't know if it makes sense to put one in one of those garages and see, and if not, then yeah, I think we need to figure something else out for them, but. I don't know.
Yeah, so I want everybody to keep that in the back of their mind, we've got some time. But I've been in discussions with, and I know Mario has too, with Spinnaker, so it's a concern.
One of
So they don't
the,
have, they don't have trash cans in now? None of them.
They all just use plastic bags.
Well, I won't say nobody does, but I don't know where they put them.
Cause that's, waste management does it now, right?
Waste management does it now, right? And I know originally my tenants had a little garbage can on the front porch, and I was getting notices that I was gonna start getting fined, and they said, put it in your back patio and walk it all the way around the building. Well, how the hell are you gonna do that with 3 feet of snow there? I mean, there's absolutely no way, especially, and it's a small can. If they're gonna say do that with a 96-gallon, there's no way. People are gonna be able to do it.
Well, you got much bigger tires though, you know.
Oh, and 4-wheel drive trash cans, nice, nice.
All right.
well, I'd like to go back to the other thing too, though, is that when you get into the street, the way our snow has been plowed, there's no place that you can secure it. It's gonna wind up down. And, the problem is, for trash in the village, is cans going down and tops coming off. It's not bags. Bags are relatively secure compared to cans with a loose fitting top.
Well, one thing that I can't stand, that I really hope,
Yellow tubs.
yes.
Yeah.
Talk about trash getting everywhere.
Yeah,
You remember something covering that, I mean,
right.
stuff all over.
And that
So
can's
I-
almost identical in the footprint as the yellow bins, because that's a smaller
Exactly.
covered container.
So, that was
And I see cans in the middle of the street all the time, the yellow bins too.
how'd you know, Sam? You knew exactly what I was gonna say.
So just
Nice
things,
to be nice
That's
to
what
really
makes a
do.
big sale.
things to think about.
What is that?
We haven't gotten anything
And
back
he's
yet.
supposed to get us something back about a month ago, he keeps saying he's working on it. So,
Maybe the pros will outweigh the cons of it, because the
Yeah.
price will go down, won't it? Or
Yeah.
it was, that's how it was last time.
Yeah, and maybe an exception can be made for
a couple areas.
a couple areas if we need to. But it would end up costing those people more money.
Right.
And, you know, that's gonna go back to the argument, well, why do we wanna pay more for Kimball when we could get the exact same service for less with Waste Management? First off, we have the ordinance that says it's gotta be Kimball, and if they want the cans, they can get the cheaper price.
Or we can even discuss that, because that Spinnaker Run had their own trash company, and I know there's issues with Waste Management, but they had their own separate trash before that ordinance was even written. So,
Yeah, waste management.
right,
I point out too, the big bins that you roll to the curb are a noisier operation than the existing trash. Because on the existing trash, they throw it in the box in front of the truck. But when they hit a big bin, each time they have to run the hydraulics to raise it and dump it.
Right. Well, let's get our contract back, see where we're at price-wise, and see what they'll do to work with a couple of our problem areas. Anybody else with old business?
I guess this would be old business, but I've been wanting to get up to the Charter Review Commission, but I haven't been able to yet. Hopefully next month, or this upcoming meeting.
There's one tomorrow night.
I would be, but okay, I just was curious from Stacy to maybe, I don't know if it's someone who just wanna get updates, or I just was kinda curious how things were going, and just,
It's
your
going
opinion.
very well. We are halfway through the charter. Really, the only section that we really spent a lot of time on was civil service. And we had a recommendation from the Civil Service Commission to change the testing just for full-time and promotional listings. So the commission sent their request to Paul, and Paul wrote up a proposal that they'll be bringing to council when we're all done with everything. Everything else, they're asking good questions, and I have some questions from residents for the next meeting we're doing.
And in addition, I'd like to introduce Mr. Rod Wiggins. He's the chair of the Charter Review Commission. And they've been working real hard at getting through it, and it's been very productive.
Thank you.
Any other old business? I have two things. I received a thank you note from the Interact Club of Twinsburg. They were here, she was here last week to thank us, and just a little note, thank you so much for your generous support of our organization. Your contribution made a significant difference toward ensuring we reach our goals. Sincerely, the Interact Club of Twinsburg. And I'll give that to Stacy so she can hang it. And then, just something that I was talking to some people as an additional source of income for the rec center. It's indoor batting cages where they'll take one court, drop a net down, and baseball players can practice their swinging. And I've been told they're getting $45 to $55 an hour for rental of a portion of a court to do that. So the investment is getting the nets to keep the balls from hitting the people walking the track. Any other old business?
Give them baseball gloves.
You're right.
Loaners.
New business. New business.
make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call on adjournment.
Mr. Molina,
Yes.
Mr. Soapston,
Yes.
Mr. Walter,
Yes.
Mr. Carlo,
Yes.
Mr. Connick.
Yes.